So we're talking about how we can drive equitable participation in manufacturing. And for us at Lafarge, it goes beyond, you know, how many women are represented. We have an ultimate target to be able to drive, you know, equitable participation on the long run. And what do I mean by that? Where women are currently playing, or where men are currently playing, there should be equal opportunity, equal resources, equal support for the woman to be able to thrive in that industry. And I'll begin with, you know, statistics. What is this? What are the statistics revealing? What is data saying? Women account for less than 1 in 3 manufacturing workers. And this is from the Manufacturing Institute. So 2 to 3 in the manufacturing sector. So give or take, you have a 1,000 employee workforce. What you expect to find will be less than 300 women. And that shows that, you know, there's potential for growth. There's potential for us to deliberately begin to act to get women into that pipeline and provide the necessary support for them to be able to thrive in the industry. Other data reveals, you know, that about 34% of the manufacturing workforce in Africa is made up of women. And UNESCO says that women who, you know, are interested, as it were, when it comes to entering into STEM careers are also more likely to leave. And that's well. Recall what I mentioned around survival in the industry. It can be very daunting for the woman. Again, African Development Gap Study found that, you know, the financing gap for women in sub-Saharan Africa is about $20 billion. And in meeting SDG 5, which is gender equality, we need about 2.5 million engineers and technicians in sub-Saharan Africa. You would agree with me that, you know, the workforce requirements cannot only be men. So only men cannot make up 2.5 million engineers and technicians in the industry. And what that tells us is that we need to get more women in the roles from using a bottom-up approach. Now, what is the compelling case for change? We know that women, you know, we know that women make good managers. We know that, you know, there's a lot of potential for the women to lead. I think I'm echoing. Is there something I need to do from here?
There could be a technical hitch on your side.
Oh, okay, I think it's rectified. So what are the statistics? In Africa, 5% of women are CEOs, and about 22% of women are cabinet members, 25% parliamentarians, 29% managers, 36% of the promotions go to women, and about 44% of the women hold line roles. And that is helping us to make a business case for change. Women, of course, represent a vast talent pool across different functions, departments, and job roles. Women are, you know, the way to go when it comes to closing the skill gaps and also bridging the gender gap. So that is two-pronged. We want to close the skill gaps and we want to be able to bridge the gender gap. In terms of the organizations, organizations that, you know, embrace, as it were, and have diversity fully embedded in their structures and their systems are likely to be more competitive and innovative. And of course, diverse organizations, you know, organizations that, hello? George, I think I can hear you.
I think that should be an echo from somewhere. Can we all mute our mics, please? Carry on, Titilope.
Okay, and diverse organizations that have embraced diversity and inclusion, are likely to be more profitable. And this is a study of women in manufacturing by Deloitte, carried out in 2015. Now, progressing, we mentioned that women are likely to enter into the careers in STEM and in manufacturing, but how many women are willing to stay in the careers? There's an advantage. Using that same survey, 70% of the women, said that they would like to remain in their current industry. And 30% of the women said that they would like to move to a different industry. And going by that survey, a few things are important to women. Opportunities for challenging assignments and projects. Of course, attractive pay is always a plus. For the woman that has, family, and even for that doesn't have a family, work-life balance is a no-brainer, as it were. And then what causes them to consider leaving? Poor working relationships, which I had mentioned earlier, lack of promotion opportunities, of course, because the men are, better considered and given more opportunities, and of course, low income and pay. Where does that leave us, especially when we think about diversity? The same survey mentions that 88% of women, think that they would contribute greatly and immensely to decision making. 84% of the women also think that, they could develop innovative and pragmatic approaches to solving problems. 74% mentioned that it would make the organization more balanced, and 49% think that it would improve the bottom line of the organization. I'm sure a lot of us are excited about, the recent US elections, and that is showing, the power that the woman wields across industries, in politics, in finance, in entrepreneurship, in business, in management, and all walks of life. And that is Kamala Harris there, who says that to tackle the challenges of the 21st century, we must empower women and families. And if we do not lift up women and families, everyone, including the men, will fall short. And of course, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala says investing in women is smart economics, and investing in girls, catching them upstream, is even smarter economics. And that shows to us that whichever side of the coin we flip, and we flip the coin and it lands, it's always a plus for the woman. It's also always a plus for the child, for the girl child. And these are Nigerian examples. We have Dr. Stella Okoli, who runs a leading pharmaceutical company in Nigeria. We have the first female managing director of Cadbury, Nigeria. And we have Kofo Akinkunbe, who is the founder and CEO of Secure ID. That is a financial services card solutions company here in Nigeria. And, they all share very relevant views around how we can create those kind of opportunities for the women to get into the manufacturing sector, to thrive in the manufacturing sector, and to remain in the manufacturing sector up until retirement. And I like the quote that the MD of Cadbury Nigeria, highlights here. She says, "I have never felt that I was in an absolute minority when it comes to work, because performance is what matters, not gender." And that is speaking to all of the things that we can do, the potential, the opportunities that we can provide to women, when they are in the manufacturing space. I'm excited to share with you our story at Lafarge. And Lafarge Wholesale, as it were. We have Precious there, my beloved colleague. We have Geraldine, who is the global CFO for Lafarge Wholesale, and she's actually next to the global CEO. I have Magali Anderson, who is our Chief Sustainability Officer here. And Magali's story is quite interesting because she's worked in cement for several decades. She led health and safety and brought about great innovation in health and safety, and then Road Stability Officer at Lafarge Wholesale. We have Jemmy, who is the CEO in America, Lafarge America. Fola, who is my colleague that I'm representing here today, is the Sustainable Development Director here in Nigeria. And of course, Dewumi is our company secretary, who has also risen through the ranks. And that shows, our group's commitment to gender diversity, gender inclusion across board. And you would see more interesting examples as we progress. So talking about gender diversity, Lafarge Africa was instrumental to the setting up of WIM Africa. And we look forward to other organizations here, Lafarge Egypt, AfriCSEM, joining us, partnering with us, to take this conversation and this narrative forward. Now, WIM Africa was created, to bring women together, to focus on policy formulation, and to strengthen the work that women do in the manufacturing sector. And the vision is to be Africa's leading network, driving women's equitable participation across the sector by identifying, influencing, and preferring solutions for growth and inclusivity of women across Africa's manufacturing sector. Now, WIM Africa is focused on three things, and that is pretty much our strategy in Lafarge. Education, which speaks to thought leadership and advocacy, driving new mindsets, and we want to be the one that is leading the change. Of course, change isn't possible if we are not able to unlock potential. And how do we want to unlock potential? It's through policy formations, because we believe that is where sustainability lies when it comes to driving gender equity programs across board. Again, we want to be able to give women a stronger voice, create visibility platforms, provide and showcase value for women in manufacturing, enlist the support of leading women and men, as it were, because we work together and we are open to partnerships to be able to drive equal opportunities, create platforms that would lead to the kind of change and address the challenges that we are facing in Africa and beyond, and provide a forum for women to network, to exchange value, and learn from one another within the sector. Now, we're focused on 4 major areas in closing the gap. The first is to bridge the gender remuneration gap. Interestingly, that is not our situation in Lafarge, but we understand that it is something that is prevalent in other companies, other organizations across Africa. Again, we think that there's a lot of potential in STEM, and we need to begin to attract, the young girls, the young ladies into STEM roles in a manner that makes them stay and remain interested and relevant. Again, we want to be able to untangle policy bottlenecks, those policies that are not women-friendly, that are not family-friendly, that do not enable for work-life balance. And again, we want to also retain women, productive women, as it were, in the workforce in the manufacturing sector. Now, we are an organization of many firsts. And I'm sharing with you 3 strong women who are in the core STEM field in Lafarge. Idara is our production manager for our Southwest East operations, and she's the first female production manager in the history of Lafarge in Nigeria. Lafarge in Nigeria has been around for 60 years, and it is interesting to note that in 2019, through dedication, through support for Idara, she was able to attain that position of the production, being the production manager for our Mfamosing operations. And I'd like to also mention that the location where she's the production manager is the location with our highest capacity, as it were, in Lafarge Africa. And that she's been blazing the trail ever since she became the production manager. And one thing she said interests me. She says, my role comes with a lot of expectations. Fortunately, I am the one to set the benchmark that will be adopted in the future. And she's committed to, through performance, through working with teams and collaboration, she's been blazing the trail. She's been setting new standards. She's been setting new records. And, she's just been flying high, when it comes to production in Lafarge. The other lady is also interesting. She's a Northerner. And if you know what, the mindsets about Northerners are in Africa, that, the exposures to education is not what it is. Girls get married off at a very tender age. But Deborah is one of our engineers who manages health and safety in our northern operation. And that in itself is an environment that, she's becoming the role model for other young girls, other women, to be able to, emulate and look up to, as it were. And Fumi is a geologist. She's also one of us. And we have a few other firsts that, we are showcasing as women in the cement sector who are driving and leading change across their respective fields. Now, for us at Lafarge, it's a bottom-up approach, and whichever way we look at it, we are, empowering women at the top to drive the change that we desire. And what is the change that we desire? Is to be able to get women into STEM at a very tender age, getting them into STEM at a time that, they can also realize that there are opportunities here, there are potentials there, and even with all of those challenges that they are likely to face in the course of their careers, they are already leading women who are able to handhold them, who are able to coach them, who are able to mentor them, who are able to provide the necessary support, both at the workplace, both socially, physically, and mentally, to help them stay in the workplace. And this is an interesting perspective for us. This was our International Day of the Girl Child video for 2020. What that is telling us it's a short video, and I think I should play that again. So what we are saying is the girl child is as important as the woman. And the earlier we begin to feed them into a pipeline, the better for the manufacturing sector, as it were. Now, how can we achieve equitable participation? And that is 50-50. It is achievable, it is doable, but we all need to come together to work hand in hand, to create and lead by example the kind of change that we would like to see in the manufacturing sector. The future starts now for us, and that is a picture of our women in one of our factories in Nigeria. It shows that the numbers are increasing. Women are more committed, to staying in careers that are related to STEM. And, they are getting as much support as is required for them to thrive in this industry. And of course, in humanities and in other aspects of the cement industry, we have women blazing the trail, as it were.